So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom, and if anybody watched the video I did on the haul of goodies I bought while I was at the Salute Wargaming show at the Excel Centre, you'll have seen that I spent far too much money on some beautiful figures from Atlantis Miniatures. This is basically for my upcoming SAGA Age of Magic army. So I'm looking to do a sort of mythology inspired faction. So got my old centaurs, a couple of them already, well, 3 of them painted up already. Right, they need a varnish, they need a base done and everything else, but they're done 3 of those. But the big purchase I made, extremely expensive, it was from Atlantis Games, and it is the centaur. Showed it briefly on the channel in that video, but this time I'm going to have a go at building it, painting it. I'm slightly nervous because I've never, if I'm honest, I've never made a model as expensive as this, and I don't want to cock it up, frankly. But in terms of the kit itself, this is what you get. You get a big round base, or oblong base, a stand for him to go on, there's the body, the heads, fearsome looking heads, and a snake tail. So there's not an awful lot to put it together. Now there was a bit of a mould line down under here which I've worked off gently with a hobby knife. Now the beauty of this model, it is resin, so it's really easy. As I've just seen on this arm here, there's a bit of a line. So you need to, like any model, you need to prepare it properly. But I find because this is resin, this is actually not too difficult. It's funny, when I looked at it initially I couldn't see any moulds at all, but then when you look at it under a bright light and a little bit more carefully, you start to see them. There's some on this paw there. So anyway, beautiful model. So oops, dropping it. This is as I say, this is Atlantic Miniatures. Never really looked at many of their, or any real fantasy models before, because fantasy is not really my thing, but the new Age of Magic has for Saga really got me interested, so I thought, well, I'll give it a go, and I'm kind of excited about all this. I spent rather a lot of money on stuff for this army, including this model, but hopefully he's going to be the centerpiece. So anyway, back when I've put him together. Right, so I've just taken the sprues, I guess, off the base of that. Come off really easy with a hobby knife. Also taken the heads off and trimmed up around the edge there, made sure they're a snug fit on the model. They do go a certain way round, so that head has to go on that way, that head has to go on there, but once they're on, there's not too much of a gap there. So just trimmed that up a bit. Also the base needed a little bit of work, given the fact that it's oops, move that over a bit, had something just that didn't enable it to sit completely snugly. So there's footprints on the base, so he sits like that. It's going to look really good, isn't he? I'm just checking whether there's anything that I need to paint before I put him on the base. I don't think so. I think it should be, I mean, I could paint up the base first. Maybe that's what I'll do. I think what I'm going to do is make up the beastie first, then make up the base, Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I've also forgotten I haven't got the wings out. Just thinking there was something missing. So anyway, right, let's do that. So I'm going to put this together. First of all, I'm going to paint, or at least put the base paint on the rocks, because I think that will be more effective. And then once I've done that, I'll then stick the monster down onto the base. I think that's going to be the best way to go. Anyway, back with more. So there you go. There's phase 1 done. Heads are on. They fit pretty snugly, actually. Very little gap there, which is great. Really impressed. Look at that fearsome beast. Oops, something just fell on the floor. The tail's on. Not quite such a snug fit there. I have to do a little bit of work trying to make sure that doesn't show. I'm not sure why. Oops, not sure why that is. That just hasn't quite. Maybe it's my positioning's not quite, but it's not quite there. So we may have to do a little bit of work on that. So you can start to see the effect this thing is going to have. Time to put the wings on. So looking good. It's a start. So there we go. Went together really, really well, I think. There's a few little gaps that hopefully, well, not gaps, but you can see little joins here and there, which hopefully will disappear when it comes to the next stage. I might have don't think it's worth filling them. I think they should cover up quite nicely. But you can see there's the effect of the thing. Whoops, it's a bit top heavy at the moment, so but that's gonna look good, don't you think, on the table? I think so. That's why I spent the money on it. What a beastie. So next up, painting. So there we go. There's the finished result. And I'm really quite pleased with him. I'll admit I am not the best painter in the West. But I'm quite pleased with how that's come out. There we go. It's a lovely model. Really nice, fun modelled. You know, I just think he'll be a beautiful centerpiece for my army. With that kind of money that you have to pay for an Atlantis model, I mean, I have to say they are the best, most detailed models I think I've seen in a long, long time. They are absolutely outstanding. I'm really, really pleased with how it comes out. Pretty clean as a model, so quite easy to put together. And I just think, you know, you're probably not going to have many of these sort of beasties in any army you play. Depends on the system you play, of course. But for me, I'm not going to have many of these in my army. And well, in fact, I'm not going to have any more. I'm going to have one big beastie and then a few smaller creatures. But this thing, £65 was it, something like that, unpainted. But wow, it's a centerpiece, and I think it looks awesome, and I'm really, really pleased. And I think even, as I say, with my basic painting, it's come out very nicely indeed. Very good, very nice indeed. And I'm sure there are people who make these things look like complete works of art. For me, I just, so just take you through the stages. I took a very sort of terracotta-y, undercoated it, obviously. This time I did it white. Normally I cheat by using whatever colour I'm going to use. I undercoated it white. Apart from the base, the rocky base, I did that grey separately. I didn't put the two together. Then I basically undercoated it again, or put another coat on of a sort of reddy brown, watered down quite a lot to come where the sort of fur is, I guess. For the wings, I just used a grey. And then what I then did was get actually quite a bright red, and then sort of not quite dry brushed, but semi-dry. It's a bit wetter than a dry brush over the top, just to accentuate all the I keep wanting to say feathers, but you know what I mean, the hairs and whatnot here on the body and on the wings, and then dry brushed with a yellow, which is what gives it that sort of fiery colour. And then for the wings, just in fact all over, then I just got a very, very fine white dry brush and did the rest of the model so that the wings stand out a bit better. Touched up the mouths and the teeth and what have you. Did the horns, had I've got an ivory paint, so I used that, and then just dirtied it up a bit with a little bit of grey and brown. Mouth is obviously just red, teeth are that ivory colour. And then just washed it with I'm a dipper, so I use a dip, but I don't dip the model. You could dip a thing this big, but I dipped it, used a brush to apply it over the model, which I think is better. It gives you much more control over where you're putting it. So I've just got a cheap brush I got from just a hobby shop, kids brush really, because they get destroyed by using the dip, and then just applied it where I wanted it, which I think gives you much more control. Likewise, dry brushed the stone flags and basing with I think I just used white, if I remember rightly. Dry brushed it all over, which brings it all out, and then when you use the wash on that sort of gives you the sort of muddy pools and dirty bits that you really want with rocks. Similarly with the wings, I made sure I was quite generous with the dirty stuff, because I reckon that the wings are going to be pretty dirty. These things would have given up to, if they've existed, would have got up to all kinds of mischief. And then just touched it off with a few bits of tufts around the rocks, just to give it a bit of something a bit different, really. So there you go. That's my Atlantis model Chimera. I think it's awesome. I'm going to so look forward to him leading out my Greek Mythology army for my Age of Magic, SAGA Age of Magic battles. I love this model so much. I bought the Minotaurs as well, so I've got 3 Minotaurs to do as well, and they're just fearsome beasties. And if you saw my salute video, this was the Pegasus I also bought, which I'm going to get a rider for to put on, and then he'll be probably one of my hero mounts. So there you go. Anyway, there is my attempt at the Atlantis models Chimera. Absolutely awesome model. Love it to bits. Really, really pleased with how it came out. So even for a distinctly average painter like me, I think that came out really nicely. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it all too seriously, and may your dice roll high or low, depending on what you need it to do. And I'll see you again soon. This is Gamer Dom signing out.